to X's update ban. Lots of conversation, lots has happened. So it turns out that X and Elon being banned has gone ahead with banning the accounts that shared, quote, lies about the 2022 Brazilian election, that it was, quote, stolen, as reported by the New York Times, quote, in a court filing on Friday night, the 20th of September, the company's lawyers said that X has complied with the orders from Brazilian Supreme Court in the hopes that the court would lift a site-wide ban. As well as banning the accounts in question, X has also named a new representative in the Brazilian region. One of the reasons why it was banned in the first place, because as we covered in the original conversation, when Elon shut down the office and then moved all of the people out of Brazil, it let them or allowed them or put them in a position where they would be against Brazilian law because they wouldn't have a representative there. Will this push X to become more brand safe, as it's likely to be seen as it would go and be pushed or could be pushed by governments to remove accounts for sharing lies? And you may agree that this is a good thing, or it may bring the question of, is Elon really, or X really, standing up for the freedom of speech plan and the freedom of speech conversation that they had as well? Did you know that 98.7% of you do not subscribe to the channel? So I would really appreciate it if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the topics, enjoying the show, if you could subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when I put out a new topic video. Will it stand its ground when it comes to misinformation or disinformation? It's likely to be heightened, or that there's heightened concerns as we go into the US election in the next 8 weeks or so, and also with heightened tensions in the Middle East and Russia at the moment, that in most cases you could say are one of the main reasons, or one of the main realities about where misinformation campaigns come from. So with this, with Elon kind of going back on what he originally said, and originally, the financial pain that the company in X was potentially looking at because it was locked off to 200 million Brazilian users, is that something which is going to be seen as, if we push him enough, he will do, what we will, and will that fall into, pushing off misinformation, pushing off opinions that criticize a government, perhaps, right? Or is it solely going to be stuff that's factually proven, right? And I think that's the conversation at the moment because of this about turn, because of the fact that he's now looking to comply after basically saying, no, I'm not going to comply for a bit. And we saw very similar with SpaceX's Starlink as well. From the Social Media Today article, one of the articles that we used for this story, quote, X will still, however, have to pay a number of fines, which has included the recent announcement that plenty have continued to use the app using a VPN service. Those fines will stretch into the millions, but getting X back online will obviously be worth it to the company long term, end quote. This comes as X is, quote, in a fairly dire financial situation, end quote, with advertisers seeing the platform as non-safe, as we covered in last week's show. So there has also been reports that Elon has, quote, as such, I do think it's also worth nothing, as X has complied with similar requests in Turkey, India and Germany, all of which have broader value to Musk and his companies, end quote. So do you think this is a double standard? Is he just looking after people who he agrees with politically, or he likes what they're saying, right? This is the conversation. And, there has also been conversations as well about him removing leftist or more liberal accounts from X. They maybe don't agree with his politics, right? So they don't synergize. So, where's their freedom of speech? Is there going to be this double standard? And I think it does, as I said a little bit earlier, I think it does open up this question of, how are we going to navigate misinformation? How are we going to navigate disinformation, especially with the lead up to the US election? Is it going to be something where Elon will just, if you're one side of the fence or another, is it going to be you're likely to get banned or suppressed if you hold that view? We also reported a couple of weeks ago that hate speech was quote unquote allowed on the platform, but it wouldn't necessarily be spread out. So it's freedom of speech, not freedom of reach, right? So it can't be necessarily found. So the people who potentially want to find that content or see that content have to go and search it out. Will we potentially see X do the same for a non-political opinion, or is it going to be solely down to if there's enough evidence or enough pressure from an official court or official government body or etc.? Is it going to close? Are they going to just comply? Right? We've seen, as I already reported, that he's already honoured some of the requests from Turkey, India and Germany, in that respect as well, and now following Brazil. So was this kind of a tiff to just get some, some point or some reality to be shared about, I do stand up for freedom of speech, but not enough if it actually hurts my businesses too much in regards to finance. But that's all we know regarding the ban. I'll leave some other resources that I didn't necessarily quote or didn't necessarily talk about down below within the source notes. So it does look like X will be returning to Brazil sooner rather than later. Do you think Elon is correct in his, pivot, his change of complying with the Brazilian government? Or should he have stood his ground and said, no, I'm going to stand up for freedom of speech and I'm not going to, fall down in that respect? But I would love to hear what you think down below, and I'll be interested to see how it's handled regarding the US election as well.